Welcome to the Action Network studio in New York City. I'm Maria Marino, and this is Green Dot Daily. We come to you live at 3 Eastern every weekday on the Action YouTube channel and the Action app, where you can always catch us on demand if you miss us live. Coming up on the show, naturally, we're going to get you ready for the NBA playoffs and especially tonight's play-in games. Also, in baseball, any value on betting the Rays right now? And an unexpected consequence, we'll call it, of the pitch clock. We're going to get into that. We've even got soccer picks for you. But as mentioned, the NBA play-in tournament continues tonight, and it's win or go home. First at 7 Eastern, Bulls getting the points in Miami. The winner will take on the Bucks in the first round starting on Sunday. The Heat were minus 650 in the preseason to make the playoffs. Now on the brink of potentially going home early this season. Then in the West, at 9:30 Eastern, Thunder, road dogs at Minnesota. Winner of that one advances to take on the Nuggets in Game 1 starting Sunday as well. The Thunder were plus 2,200 to make the playoffs in the preseason and are one win away from cashing that as we welcome in NBA analyst Chris Raybon. Happy Friday. So this first play-in game, Bulls and Heat, how do you see this playing out?
I like Chicago plus 5.5 here. You know, even if Miami does win this game, I think it's going to be close. And we've seen this time and time again where Miami just is not getting these big victories that are allowing them to cover the spread. They're 14, 25, and 2 against the spread at home, 20 and 36 against the spread as a favorite, and 11 and 24 as a home favorite. And I'm also worried about the Heat on the glass. They got out-rebounded 63-39 in that first play-in game against the Hawks. And Chicago's third in defensive rebound percentage. And Chicago's also won all their games against Miami this season. So I think it's going to be a tough matchup for Miami. Well-coached team, Spo, maybe they squeak it out. But I think you got to take the points because I think this is a live dog situation here for Chicago. I mean, we saw Miami with the letdown against the super mid Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, Miami just hasn't looked dominant enough to expect that they're going to win by a wide margin. As for the second play-in game, Minnesota, the favorite, hosting OKC. Now, you don't have an official pick on this, but I saw some betting insights that I thought were interesting, wanted to get your take. Here are the most bet player props by ticket per BetMGM. So you got Rudy Gobert over 12.5 rebounds, Jalen Williams over 1.5 assists, and Karl Anthony Towns over 23.5 points. So out of these, which one are you buying?
I got to go Jalen Williams here. It's funny because the other two are just super chalk, and then you have Jalen Williams over assists, but it probably should be chalk as well, and I guess it is, and that's because he's gone over in 7 of his past 8 games, so I like that one the most. Gobert, who knows what's going on with his injury, maybe he gets pulled early, and Towns is averaging just under 14 points a game against the Thunder this season, so he hasn't been a big scorer against them, so I think Williams really stands out among those 3.
That's a surprising number for Towns against the Thunder. And then as far as Gobert is concerned, there's, I think, this feeling that, he's going to want to come back and redeem himself after the suspension, and he's just going to, have this monster game. And while that may be true, to your point, 12.5 is just still such a big number. So I'm with you. I would be a little bit hesitant on that one. Moving into the first round of the playoffs, we're going to stick with this theme of betting insights. So here are the most bet teams to win that first round series. Kings have the most tickets coming in, followed by the Knicks and Cavs. The most money is coming in on the Grizzlies, and once again, the Cavs and Kings are represented. Which of these teams, Raybon, are you most sold on?
I think the Sacramento Kings are a little bit more dangerous than people give them credit for. I know everyone's fan base in the Western Conference, we're kind of hoping they got that Kings matchup. And I just think that, you look at the Kings, they have home court. They're going to have home court against the Warriors. And obviously the Warriors are defending champs. When they turn it on, they're hard to beat. But we've seen them on the road this year. And remember, they're going to have to win a road game to win this series. They're just 11-30 on the road straight up this year. And, it's this, I don't think it's like a far-fetched thing for Sacramento to kind of steal one against Golden State, whether, in Golden State, because you got the Mike Brown factor. And I think, that is really going to help them with the preparation, especially in a longer series, because he's going to kind of know exactly how they're thinking, exactly how they're adjusting. And I think that benefits a team like Sacramento, who's technically the underdog, more than the familiarity benefits the Warriors. So, the Warriors shoot a lot of threes. They don't play great defense, and they have a really low floor on the road. So I think this series, you could see an upset, and the odds are saying under 1/3 chance for the Kings to win. I think it's higher than that. So I like the Kings at plus 215 here.
Yeah, I think it was a surprise initially when the Warriors were favored over the Kings, just because they've had their struggles, but the narrative points to that. Meanwhile, I'm a little surprised that Sacramento has been so public, but yet maybe people are getting sharper and seeing like, hey, there's just value here. They've been a great team all year, and so the odds are, it's just a better bargain for bettors.
Absolutely, because remember, the Western Conference is wide open. We've seen this all year. A lot of these teams are kind of clustered together. And so you look up and down the board and you see that plus 215 for the higher seed, no less. I think the public's onto something there. And that's why you saw Sacramento represented not just in the highest ticket count, but also the highest money count, which was unlike the other two teams there. So, I think people are onto something with Sacramento.
Definitely a series to look forward to. This is such an exciting time of year. I think we all get so wrapped up in March Madness, myself included, and then I'm like, oh, now it's NBA playoff time. Like, let's go. This is great. Raybon, thanks so much.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Green Dot Daily is presented by BetMGM. Use bonus code ACTION when signing up to get up to $1,000 paid back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Over to baseball. The Rays have done it again, beating the Red Sox yesterday to start their season on a 13-game win streak, complete with 4 series sweeps. The only team to start a season better did so way back in the 19th century. With that, we say hello to Anthony Dabbundo. So the Rays are looking to stay hot tonight in Toronto. Would you bet that game or pass?
Yeah, at this point, unfortunately, I have to pass. I would have bet Tampa Bay overnight if you could have gotten the line when they were an underdog in this game where they opened, because Drew Rasmussen, the starter for Tampa, is the clearly better starting pitcher in this matchup. But now what we've seen the last few days especially is, as the public is all over this narrative, you're seeing this line on every Rays game, regardless of who the pitchers are. They're getting bet up every single day and inflated. And I think now at this price, it's about where it should be. Jose Barrios has been one of the worst starters in baseball over the last couple year and a half or so. His zone contact rate, which is the percentage of your pitches that you throw in the strike zone that get hit, was one of the worst in baseball last season. He was in the bottom 5 there. So he's just not missing bats with his stuff in the zone. Tampa Bay is pretty disciplined offensively. They don't chase a ton. So that's going to be a problem for Barrios in this matchup. I would actually lean to the over, if anything, but no play for me on this one. Will not be fading the Rays, but will not be hopping on and the bandwagon now either, because they're clearly a little bit inflated.
Very reasonable of you. Very diplomatic answer, but yeah, there's just not really a bargain to be found right now with the Rays, and it makes sense as to why with the narrative that you mentioned. Let's get your picks for tonight, shall we? Where do you see opportunities on this slate?
Yeah, so Toronto and Tampa are playing in the American League East. I'm not betting that matchup, but I do like a couple of American League East teams tonight as my 2 favorite plays. We'll start with Baltimore on the road against the White Sox. This is a pretty significant pitching mismatch with Baltimore starting Tyler Wells, the White Sox starting Mike Clevenger. And I think the market consistently undervalues Wells because the strikeout numbers are never there for him. He strikes out about 7 batters per 9, which is below average. But his stuff plus numbers and his past track record over the last couple seasons have shown that he consistently gets weak induced contact, a lot of pop-ups especially, and he is able to avoid hard contact and usually homers as well. and that's why he has a 3.5x ERA over the last couple seasons. Meanwhile, Mike Clevenger has not been the same pitcher for the last 2 years. His xERA is up in the mid fours, 4.5, 4.6, 4.7 the last couple seasons, and his stuff plus on his fastball went down pretty considerably in the last year, and he really hasn't improved much since joining the White Sox. So I don't really see how these pitchers are rated about even based on this line. And the offenses, Baltimore has an advantage here. Their offense much better against right-handed pitching, which they'll see a righty tonight. And the White Sox offense is below average against righties. They do most of their damage against lefties. Wells, being a right-hander, gets a platoon advantage as well. So I like Baltimore first 5 and full game. I bet both money lines up to minus 120, 125. I think they should be a solid favorite here.
All of that makes sense. Can I ask you a question? Can I clarify something? xERA. Can you just clarify what that is versus regular ERA?
Absolutely, yeah. So xERA is a StatCast metric, which you can find it on Baseball Savant. Fangraphs, I think, charts it now as well. But basically, it's based on the quality of contact that you allow. What is your expected ERA supposed to be? In soccer, we use expected goals. You'll also see that in hockey. Expected points is a metric that some use in the NBA. So basically, it looks at, based on the quality of the contact that you allow, your strikeouts, your walks, it creates about an expected ERA that you're supposed to have, and it's more predictive than ERA in terms of using and predicting future performance. So it's why it's more widely used.
Fascinating. Thank you for sharing that. I always learning from you, Anthony. What else do you like tonight?
Yeah, so we'll stick in, like I said, we'll stick in the American League East. Don't have to go too far. But the LA Angels are in town for a 4-game series, which will wrap up Marathon Monday. The first game is tonight in Boston. It's Patrick Sandoval for the Angels against Tanner Houck for the Red Sox. Tanner Houck is a right-handed starter, somebody I like a lot when he's able to face a lineup of righties. He is one of the most split-dependent, arguably the most split-dependent starting pitcher in baseball. So when he faces lefties, and left-handed batters, he really struggles to get them out. His arsenal is not well suited to get out left-handed hitters. He's pretty limited in what he throws, and he suffers from it. His career OPS allowed against lefties is 703. That's almost 200 points higher than his career against right-handed bats, and he's going to see a lot of right-handed bats tonight in the Angels lineup. They don't really have a ton of platoonable guys. If you look at their starting outfield, it's Taylor Ward, Mike Trout, Hunter Renfroe, all righties. Even in the infield, Brendan Drury, Anthony Rendon, Gio Urshela. They're probably starting 6 right-handed bats in the lineup tonight. So that's a big platoon advantage for Houck and the Red Sox at home. Main reason why I like them at plus 100 on the first 5 and in the full game money line. So I like the Red Sox at home here. I just don't think they should be lined at even money. It should be a favorite. Keep an eye on Masataka Yoshida, the 29-year-old rookie from Japan. He has not played the last 2 days. The Red Sox lineup needs him back. Alex Cora said he's questionable tonight, like the Red Sox even more if he plays, and would expect the market to move a little bit toward them if he's announced in.
All right, Boston hoping to bounce back after that 4-game losing streak at the hands of the aforementioned Rays. Anthony, thanks. Enjoy your weekend.
You too.
To soccer, take a look at the schedule for a couple key matchups getting started bright and early Saturday if you're in the States. First, Aston Villa is taking on Newcastle. Then Chelsea is essentially a pick'em against Brighton. As we welcome in Action Network staff writer BJ Cunningham. BJ, we got a little breakfast of champions going on here. What are you serving up first thing Saturday morning?
Yeah, bright and early, 7:30 a.m. Eastern time, Aston Villa Newcastle. Was actually a really, really important match for all the European spots left in the Premier League table. Aston Villa has been running ridiculously hot lately. They've won 7 of their last 8 matches, but they've drastically overperformed defensively during that time frame. They've only allowed 2 goals, but they've conceded 8 expected goals. Now, the problems that Aston Villa has run into when they've had to face bigger competition is Unai Emery, their manager, is insistent on playing out from the back and building up from out there. Now, that can work against smaller sides, but against teams that can press them effectively, it's caused all sorts of problems. If you look at their match against Chelsea, although they won the match 2-0, Chelsea had a passes per defensive action of 4.6 and a counter-pressing success rate of 30%. The same thing happened against Arsenal, and the same thing happened against Manchester City. Newcastle is a top 5 pressing team in the Premier League. They're 5th in passes per defensive action, 4th in high turnovers. And they're also red hot as well. They've won 5 straight matches, and they've just been obliterating everybody offensively. They've created 12.5 expected goals in those 5 matches. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that their big money signing in the transfer window, Alexander Isak, is finally integrated into the squad. He is their main striker. He's scored 8 goals in 9 matches. He has created 6.4 expected goals. So this offense is firing on all cylinders. And Aston Villa, when they've had to face good competition, they've struggled. I mean, they've conceded 13.1 expected goals under Unai Emery against the top half of the table in 7 matches. So I think this is a good spot here to bet on some Aston Villa negative regression against a red-hot Newcastle team. So I like Newcastle at plus 110.
Yeah, right in Newcastle as you wake up, get your day going. By the way, real quick, how do you watch a game this early? What's your routine?
It's lay in bed. I don't get out of bed until maybe halftime of this first one, and then maybe you go make some coffee. But it's honestly a really nice way to start your day, right? I mean, live sports is great. You know, you see a ball bouncing around a pitch in a beautiful, bright, sunny day, hopefully in Birmingham on Sunday. So that's how I do it. And then once we hit after that match is over, then I'm getting up, then I'm making the coffee, and then we get ready for the 10 a.m. window.
You know, that sounds lovely, but let's get back to the hard-hitting analysis, shall we? Chelsea-Brighton, what piqued your interest about this match?
Yeah, so, honestly, the odds piqued my interest as well. I mean, Chelsea is essentially a pick'em against Brighton, and I think that should tell you everything you need to know about both Chelsea and Brighton. Brighton is in incredible form. Since Roberto De Zerbi took over on October 1st, they're averaging 2 expected goals per 90 minutes. That is the 4th best mark in the Premier League. And since February 4th, they're averaging 2.38 expected goals per 90. That is the best mark in the Premier League. This is an unbelievable offense, but their style of play is very conducive to high event style matches. So what they like to do is their center backs will hold the ball and they will basically bait the opponent into pressing them. And then they'll play the ball right through the middle of the pitch and then out wide to their great wingers, Matoma and March, and basically break down teams that way. The problem with that style of play is when you face a good pressing team, you can commit a lot of turnovers in your own final third. And Chelsea is just that. They're 2nd in passes per defensive action. It's Frank Lampard's 3rd match in charge. It is a sandwich spot for them between their Champions League matches after they just lost 2-0 to Real Madrid. He previously managed Chelsea last season, and then he's previously been the manager of Everton. The problem with his Everton teams is he wanted them to be pressing teams out of a 4-5-1, but they were always terrible in transition defense. So if they're not able to press Brighton effectively, they're going to play right through them and they're going to create boatloads of chances. So I have 2.7 goals projected for this match given Brighton's style of play and how aggressive they are. I see a lot of chances at both ends. So I like over 2.5 goals at minus 110.
That sounds like a fun one. And for more soccer content, make sure you check out the Wonder Goal podcast via Action Network. BJ, excellent analysis. Thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you.
Green Dot Daily is presented by BetMGM. Use bonus code ACTION when signing up to get up to $1,000 paid back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Fridays on GDD, we like to have a little fun and invite Tim Kalinowski to hang out with us. Tim, we saw a story and immediately thought of you, just thought it would be perfect for you. Some MLB teams are extending beer sales beyond the traditional 7th inning to make up for lost concession sales due to the shorter games. What do you make of this, Tim? We just figured your opinion would be very valuable.
Yeah, thanks, Maria. When you guys reached out and said, hey, we got an idea for you. We're going to talk about drinking beers at games. We figured our resident 24-year-old would be interested. So, yeah, my expert opinion. I mean, look, I understand, Matt Strom was, really outspoken about it, and I think made a lot of good points. I really understand both sides, but all I can do is speak for myself. And for myself, bottom line, I don't try and play any games. I don't try to bring anything in, cheat the system, whatever. I am going to go. I'm going to have a designated driver. I want to stimulate the economy. I want to give my money to the organization, feel like I'm really a part of it. So I'm going to go buy beers at the game. And look, the problem is, I wish I could be self-serving and I could have my own set of rules, but I understand why, sometimes we have to put these things in place, as Gifford, one of our producers, mentioned.
Well, you brought up Matt Strom, and just to clarify, he was essentially saying, like, wait, if anything, we should be stopping sales a little earlier, like the 6th inning, to give enough people time to apparently sober up, before they leave, or a safety measure. But you're saying, like, I mean, you're gonna be responsible regardless.
Correct. And I think he makes a really good point. It makes a lot of sense. Like, hey, if these games are going quicker, that doesn't, it's gonna be like 12 minutes and you're out the door. For me, it's like, hey, you know what? Then just get to the game on time. Be able to, go grab your beer before the first pitch. And so that way you can consume all you want, but it has to be in a safe manner. And again, just act like a professional. Just be a good person, be a good citizen. I know that's just like ethics in a nutshell. We have to have these rules in place, but I'm a pro. I just want to go in, get out.
Yes, exactly. And that's no matter when the beer is being sold. How do you feel about the pitch clock overall?
I love it. I love it. I was banging I'm really tough on the MLB. Like I love baseball. I grew up playing baseball. I have a tremendous love in my heart for baseball. And it was watching the sport basically, cannibalize itself with its own, just always in its own way. And so for them to make a rule and for have it to work right away like this thing has, and look, batting average is up, stolen base success rate has gone up, the duration of games we've cut off almost a half hour. It's like, hey, that's the baseball I remember playing. That's how it was when I played Little League.
I'm totally with you. I was just the same way, like, saying from years ago that this should have happened because the games are just so, sorry, but they got so boring to watch on TV. Yep. Now, I've heard an argument against the pitch clock as far as watching the games in person, because you go, you spend the money, and I guess sometimes people are feeling like, well, they're not getting as much of an experience, the games are shorter. But I kind of push back against that too, and I wonder if you agree, because, like, even if I go to a game, which I enjoy, especially when it's a nice, beautiful day outside, I don't necessarily want to sit there for 3.5 hours anyway. Like, I still think you can enjoy and have a full quality experience and have the game be like 2.5 hours.
I think you're bang on. And I think, look, the MLB's biggest problem, and really any market really, is people being on this in between when there's downtime. So you got people, when you have a long amount of time in between action, people are going to pull out their phone. So if you are on it, wheel spinning all the time, pitch, there's not a lot of, hey, let me go pull out Twitter right now. We want to avoid that opportunity.
That's a really good point. Speaking of action, do you do live betting often, or are you not so much an in-game bettor?
It's really tough because I'm always watching 700 different games at one time, and I only have one cable cord, right? So one's cable, the rest are all being streamed, and obviously if you're streaming, that almost takes you out of the game completely.
Okay, fair enough. So then you wouldn't be so much affected from a betting perspective of the shorter games, because I did think about that. Like, okay, if you like to bet in game, you might have a little bit less time to figure out what you're doing. But I think overall, that's a very small price to pay for the gains that we're seeing from just shorter, more entertaining, fast-moving baseball games.
If you're good enough at live betting, like not much changes for you.
Yeah.
Like you know what you're doing already. I will say the one thing that we kind of miss out on, and the one thing I will concede, if someone comes to me with this argument, I'll say fair argument, is that we miss the natural buildup of a gigantic moment. Like think Dave Roberts, Mario Rivera, he threw over 3 times. He steps off. They Posada came out. They're talking. He goes back. This was like 5 minutes until any action actually happened. And that moment just kept building and building and ballooning. But that's one instance, and I will trade thousands of games moving quicker for those instances. But I will say, if someone approaches me with that argument, I say, you did your research.
Right. Fair enough. I hadn't thought of that either, because depending on the spot, and they're few and far between when it's a really big spot and you just have that tension building and building and building. But I just agree with you across the board that what we're gaining still outweighs it. Tim Kalinowski, thanks so much for the valuable insight. We appreciate it.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Maria. Have a good weekend.
You too. Earlier in the show, we featured NBA, MLB, and soccer picks. Remember, you can keep track of all of these by following Green Dot Daily in the Action app. Do it. That's all for Green Dot Daily, but before we go, we have to wish a very special congratulations to our beloved producer, Bridie, and her fiance, Mitchell. They are going to be tying the knot here very soon. So Bridie is about to embark on an extended vacation, wedding, honeymoon, time off. So we hope you enjoy it. We can't wait to celebrate. Congrats again from your friends here at Green Dot Daily. I'll be back here, though, Monday at 3 Eastern, so I'll see you then on the Action Network YouTube and the Action app.